Hey everyone! Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up multiple selection in a list using Draftbit's dynamic styling and built-in transforms. We will cover 3 different cases. We will start with single selection and gradually evolve to multiple selection with dynamic styling. Let's dive in! In the first setup, we will change the color of an item when it's selected. Here we can only select one item at a time. I've already set up a list with 3 options. I used an app variable for this, but if you have a backend, you can fetch data directly from there too. Our list data simply contains 3 items. The first item is reading books, the second one is exploring new places, and the third one is trying out new recipes. And we've already mapped this data using the list component. Let's start by adding a pressable component as the parent of each list item. So I'm selecting this view component and here in the 3 dot, choosing add parent option. We need to add this because this lets us capture when a user selects an item. Next, we need to store the selected item in a variable. To do this, we will go to Variables module, to Screen Variables, and create an object variable. Why an object? Because our list items are stored as objects in an object array. For a deeper understanding of data types in Draftbit, check out our video linked in the description. Now select the pressable component, go to its Interactions tab and select onPressTrigger. In the Action Editor, choose Set Variable and set it to our variable. In the drop-down, select the list item, which represents the item the user pressed. We can use console log to verify the selection in the console. I'll just save a result name and add a console log, choosing the action result. We're choosing reading books, exploring new places, and trying out new recipes. Finally, let's make the selection visually clear by changing the background color. In Draftbit, you can dynamically style any component. Just select the View component and go to the Styles tab. And here we want to use background color for dynamic styling. So pressing on any prop in the Styles tab will open up a tooltip. And this is where we're going to use our dynamic styling logic. We're going to use our conditional transform, if then else. Our condition should be if our screen variable, if this is equal to the list item, then if this is true, we're going to set the color something from here, our color palette. But you can use some hex code as well. If you don't fill out this false branch, then this will just use the fallback color here. So I'll just leave it like this. Let's test it out. Now when we select an item, its color updates immediately. Awesome! In our second setup, we will enable multiple selections, so you can choose more than one item. The logic we want is to be able to select and deselect the items at the same time. In order to do that, we will create a screen variable again. But this time as an object array to store multiple items. In the pressable components onPressTrigger, we want to either add or remove items from the variable that we have created. But first we need to check if the item is already in the array, in our variable. So I'm gonna add if and else action. And our condition would be if selected options includes the list item. If the list item is not inside selected options, then clearly we want to add this item to our variable because we're making a selection. So for doing this, we're going to use set variable action, selecting the screen variable, and a new value will be selected options, but we're going to use our array append transform to add the list item to our array. In this condition, if the list item is already in the selected options variable, then that means by pressing on that item, we want to deselect the option. So we want to remove it from our variable, from our array. In order to do that, we're going to use again set variable action, selecting our variable. And now I'm going to use array remove transform to remove the list item from our variable. But to visually show the selection, go to the View Components Styles tab again, and in the background color, apply if then else again. Our condition would be if our selected options array includes the list item, then we're gonna make this again green. If false, it will use the fallback color. We can select multiple items and each selected item changes color. And likewise, I can deselect my options. In our third and final case, we will set a limit to the multiple selections users make, and we will simply remove the selections from this list and display the selections simultaneously below here. We want to enable users to remove some items from the selected list as well. I mean, they can change their mind, right? And remove some or add another, etc. So we will see how to update both lists using transforms in Draftbit. In the first list pressable component, in the Interactions tab on press trigger, we need to set some actions, right? But before doing that, again, we need to create our object array type variable. Let's do that. Also, I need to mention that in our list component, we're using list data app variable to display our hobbies. After creating our variable, now we can go to the Interactions tab on press trigger and action editor. So remember, we're going to limit users to make selections up to 7. So in this case, we're going to use if and else action, and we will check if we have reached our selection limit of 7. So we're going to select selected options variable and use the transform length. This transform simply provides the length of the array, and if it's length less than 7, that means we can still make selection. So we can add items to our variable. In the true branch, we're going to choose our selected options, and the new value will be again selected options because we're going to use the array append transform to add the selected item. Okay, so far so good. But we also want to remove it from the original list because we're going to update our first list by removing the selected item from the first list and update the second list to display the selected options. Again, we're going to use set variable action, and this time we're updating the list data using array remove transform and removing the list item. So in the false branch, we don't need to add any actions. Now in the second list, we're going to display the selected options. So our data source should be selected options. In this part, users can tap selected items to remove them from the list. So in this pressable, we're again choosing the on press trigger, and we are going to use again set variable action and array remove the list item. List 2 item, I'm sorry. And likewise, we need to update the first list data source. That means we're going to add this removed item to the first list. That's why we're going to use array append, add the list 2 item back to the list data. So before testing this, we need to check the text components data section. So we need to select the list 2 item, I guess. We need to enter the correct key path. As you can see here, our items contains 2 keys, ID and title. So we're going to use this one. Okay, now we can test it. Cool. And it doesn't let me make the 8 selection. And I can remove them, send them back to the original list. And I know that you have already noticed the continue button's color is being updated. And it becomes green when we're making selections. When there is no items, it turns back to gray. Comment below how would you achieve this. We have set up multiple selection for lists with different conditions and dynamic styling using Draftbit's powerful transforms. Thanks for watching and happy building!